Hello, my name is Janelle Inman. I will be discussing Chapter 13 on fats and oils. Physical and chemical properties. There are three different types of natural fatty acids: saturated fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. In saturated fatty acids, all of the hydrogens are saturated and there is no double bonds between the carbon atoms in the fatty chain. Monounsaturated fatty acids have one unsaturated bond. Polyunsaturated fatty acids have multiple unsaturated bonds. Partially hydrogenated fatty acids over the last century has given consumers many positive advantages when it comes to the physical and chemical properties. Partially hydrogenated fatty acids have longer shelf life, plasticity, higher smoke point, and tactile and other sensory properties. Plasticity describes the suppleness or workability of batter or dough. There are also natural sources of trans fat. Trans fat occurs naturally in meat and dairy products as a result of microbial hydrogenation of cis unsaturated fatty acids in the stomach of ruminant animals. Fats and oils offer many nutritional properties to the body. They are very calorically dense. Fats and oils with 1 gram of fat offer 9 kilocalories of energy. These fats and oils help aid in digestion of fat-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, E, D, and K. A vitamin with too little fat will result in not enough absorption of these vitamins. The dietary guidelines for Americans in 2010 recommended 30 to 35% of an adult's daily calories should come from fats and oils. Omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are considered essential fatty acids because humans do not manufacture these fatty acids in their bodies and they must be consumed in the diet. Sources of omega-3 fatty acids come in certain fish such as salmon, trout, and herring, certain vegetable oils such as soybean, canola, walnuts, and flax seeds. Omega-6 fatty acids come in sources of vegetable oils such as soybean, corn, or soft flour. Fats and oils have a large impact on our health. Fats are very energy dense. Too much fat in the diet can contribute to weight gain. Dietary fats have an effect on blood lipid and cholesterol profiles. Saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated fats have been shown to increase HDL cholesterol levels. HDL cholesterol is a good cholesterol. Saturated fats increases LDL cholesterol levels. LDL is considered the bad cholesterol. A functional food can be described as a food or food component that offers health benefits beyond basic nutrition. An excessive amount of trans fat does lead to health risks. Nutrition research has demonstrated a positive linear relationship between dietary intake of trans fatty acids and increased LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol levels. Other metabolic effects of trans fatty acids are an increase of lipoprotein, which increases the risk for cardiovascular disease as well as cerebral vascular disease. The Mediterranean diet is generally a diet that's high in fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and fish, with more than half of the calories is coming from olive oil, which is high in monounsaturated fat. They have a lower incidence of heart disease, largely due to the kinds of fats that they consume. Cooking with oils is very popular. Helpful oils to cook with are canola and olive oil because they're high in unsaturated fat contents, have suitable flavors, and multiple uses in cooking. Canola oil is heat stable when cooking and frying. Olive oil and extra virgin oil which comes from the first pressing of the olive. Pressing is a process of breaking the cell wall by grinding, flaking, rolling, or pressing under high pressure to liberate oil. Deep fat frying. Deep fat frying is also defined as the process of cooking foods by immersing them into edible oil at a high temperature, higher than the boiling point of water. Deep fat frying is also referred to as fat immersion frying. The act of immersing a food into an edible oil at high temperatures changes the structure of the food product. Most of the oil uptake or absorption takes place in the cooling off period. Baking with fats. In baked goods, fats provide crispness, flakiness, and softness. In addition, fats also in baked goods serve multiple functions such as tenderizing, ensuring sufficient shelf life, providing flavoring, and adding to the product's structure. Avoiding rancidity. Rancidity is basically the most common off flavor in oil. It's a condition produced by oxidation of unsaturated fats present in foods and other products. Hydrolytic rancidity is the first type of spoilage in fats and is associated with the presence of water. Oxidative rancidity is a second type of spoilage in oil. It also is referred to as autooxidation. It occurs when the lipids are catalyzed in the presence of heat and light. The book discusses several techniques to take when it comes to improving fat intake. One of those techniques was menu planning. Simple ways to help menu planning go accordingly is to increase servings of legumes, fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. Serve low-fat, 1% or non-fat milk. Eliminate or limit the service of high-fat snack items. Instead of having a dessert, use a fruit as an alternative. And also limiting yourself to none or little fried or battered foods. Another way to improve fat intake is by simply paying attention to what you buy in the grocery store. Simple changes in the grocery store can make a big impact on the amount of saturated and trans fat consumed. A couple good tips to remember when grocery shopping is to purchase lean meats, purchase ground chicken or turkey without skin to mix with or substitute for lean ground beef. Substitute lean ham for bacon or sausage. When it comes to baked goods, they often have hidden fats, so it's good to read food labels and make sure that you're actually getting what it says. Purchase lower fat bread such as bagels, pita bread, corn tortillas, and English muffins. Avoid higher fat products such as croissants, donuts, Danish pastries, and sweet rolls. Another tip to improve fat intake is simply by the way you prepare your meals. The way you prepare your meals has a huge impact on the final fat content of the finished food item. Making simple changes can go a long way. Some simple tips to remember when prepping meals is to start with the leanest cuts of meat and then trim away any fat. When cooking poultry, remove all the fat and skin. Use lean ham or small amounts of ham base. Omit salt for seasonings. Meat should be browned by broiling or cooked in a non-stick pan with little or no oil. Food technology, plant breeding, and genetic engineering. Trait-enhanced oilseeds is a term used to describe oilseeds that have been genetically modified to change their fatty acid composition. Oilseeds have been developed for the use in preparing semi-solid fats for margarine-like spreads and for baking. There are several advantages and disadvantages when it comes to plant breeding and genetic engineering. Some of the advantages are that it reduces the trans fatty acids in the food supply, as well as the oils have a longer fry life, which allows the oil to be changed less frequently. However, one of the limitations of trait-enhanced oilseeds is that shortages of seed supplies for planting can impact commercial availability. Hydrogenization. Modifications over the last decade have been very successful. They've been successful in lowering trans fatty acid isomers and partially hydrogenated fats to less than 10%. One of the advantages of this process is that it's so readily available for traditional soybean, cottonseed, and canola oils and can be used, and it results into a semi-hard shortening that's appropriate for baking and frosting. Fractionization of fats. Fractionization physically separates saturated fatty acids from monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. The advantage of fractionization is that solid fats can be prepared without hydrogenization or the addition of trans fats. Interestification. Interestification is a method used to change the fatty acid composition of fats and oils by hydrolysis of fatty acids from the glycerol backbone, followed by reesterification. Advantages of interestification are the free fatty acids with the desired degree of saturation and carbon length can be added to a mixture of triglycerides to develop fats with a desired melting and or smoke point and stability. Disadvantages of enzymatic interestification are that it is relatively expensive and that the reaction time takes much longer than chemical interestification. Reformulating food products to remove trans fat. When industries decide that they want to change operations to eliminate fat, they do have some things they have to consider. They have to consider the capacity of commercial operation to adapt without purchasing new equipment, how available is the chosen modified fat, and the cost and sensory qualities of the reformulated food product. When considering a reformulation, manufacturers should also keep many things in mind. For instance, becoming familiar with the kinds of costs of the ingredients, the market from suppliers of the fats and oils. Consider the availability of the ingredients and possible fluctuations in the price related to supply and demand. Greening fats and oils. Biodiesel is produced from renewable resources such as cooking oil waste. Biodiesel is both biodegradable and non-toxic. The fat-to-fuel process recycles waste oils that are set to be dumped in landfills or flushed down drains. There are many types of oils that are in the landfill that are problematic. Yellow grease is found in deep fryer grease and oil. Brown grease is found in restaurant grease traps. Black grease, which is congealed grease in sewer pipes, and trap grease, which is also considered other trap waste. Fat substitutes. The book briefly describes the difference between a fat substitute and a fat extender. It states that a fat substitute is an ingredient that mimics one or more of the roles of a fat in a food, such as providing moisture, the mouthfeel, and other characteristics of fat by holding water. However, a fat extender is an ingredient that optimizes the functionality of fat, allowing for a decrease in the usual amount of fat required by a product. Fat substitutes are classified into three categories based on their nutrient source: carbohydrate-based, protein-based, and fat-based substitutes. Carbohydrate-based substitutes. These substitutes are made of cellulose, dextrins, gums, and fibers. Carbohydrate-based substitutes are generally used in products of cheeses and yogurts, frozen desserts, sauces, salad dressings, processed meats, baked goods, and snack products. Hydrocolloids replace starches and can enhance a food's texture without affecting taste. Pectin gels are being used more and more often to replace fats while maintaining a product's texture, taste, and stability. Protein-based substitutes. The protein base mimics are whey, which is a milk protein, and egg protein. Fat-based substitutes. Fat-based substitutes may include alterations of fatty acids and provide fewer calories than regular fats or even no calories. Olestra is a fat along that has 0 calories, while Thank-Tesk is a branded fat analog that is a mixture of starch, water, and one or more oily substance. The dilemma of using fat substitutes. Because these substitutes lack so many essential nutrients for our body, we should reduce them and their absorption. Food manufacturers fortify these foods with vitamins and minerals. Hydrogenation of vegetable oils unintentionally adds trans fat to foods during processing. Research in the 1990s demonstrated a positive relationship between dietary intake and trans fat and coronary heart disease. Trans fat labeling. The FDA has made a requirement that each food label must have the amount of trans fat content listed in it. Butter products. Butter must be made of at least 80% milk fat, and the other 20% comes from milk solids and water. The following labels are regulated by law: unsalted butter, whipped butter, creamed butter, and light or reduced calorie butter. Fat substitutes. Labels on foods made with fat substitutes must comply with the Nutritional Labeling and Education Act of 1990, which states that the label must list the usual name and the energy or nutrient combinations.